Welcome back to another MT Doctrine. And this particular topic that I want to talk about is an article that came out a couple weeks ago. And it was about basically a person who checked into some hotel and they video recorded, like monitored everything in their room. So they were gone for the day. And as we all know, that maids would come in and clean up the room. They come in like in the mornings, they get things cleaned up. They, change the beds or make up the bed and get new towels. So a maid came in and she cleaned the room, but she was very nosy. She was looking through all the personal belongings of this person. Things like, different games, laptop, tablets, whatever was in that room. And a lot of people, there were two sides, of course. There were two sides to this. Other people were like, she was curious. Other people were saying, well, she should not have done that. That's basically an invasion of privacy. So that was interesting. And I want to talk about that a little further in terms of my opinions. But really, what really matters? What is the neutral conversation to have about this? When I look at the world around me and the things that happens in it and the things that people do. Now, this is a big part of what I do in making these videos on the MT Doctrine, whether people watch them or not. It actually gives me a lot of clarity of understanding the world around me. And it makes me happy. It brings clarity on the things that I see and the people and the things that they do. It's perfect. And it comes down to this. There are 5 particular things that helps me to understand the world around me and the things that people do, especially if it's very hateful, very mean, not nice. So number 1 is I know that the world contains evil. I understand that human beings are aggressive animals. We are untamed, wild animals. No one taught us what's right and wrong. We just kind of came upon this planet and we developed the rules and there it is. Simple as that. A lot of things doesn't make sense in the world that we live in, but that's the world that we live in. It contains evil. History has proved it, and in stories today, it continues to prove that. So as aggressive animals, aggressive beings that we are, we do constant acts of aggression all the time. Me, you, everyone, we all do these things. That as aggressive beings, we are very self-centered. We are very entitled. We are oblivious in terms of the things around us and the things that we do. We're self-righteous. We think that we're always right. You're wrong. You're an idiot. That's basically what their understanding is of things. We're very judgmental. We'll tell you exactly how you should think, how you should believe, how you should vote, how you should pray, who you should date. We're very judgmental because once again, we think we know everything. We want significance. We want to be recognized. We're more important than anyone else, which stems from being self-centered. And of course, there's greed. We're greedy people though. The things that we do, there's a monetary strategy in our approach. But we do misanthropy. We do some kind of dislike, hatred, or dislike towards some group that we are not associated with. Case in point, look at what's going on with Michael Brown, with the 12-year-old who was shot by the police within seconds. Or what's happening in New York with the choking. It is a clear division that the country is in separate particular groups in the country. There's misanthropy. But I talked about this in a video called The Divided States of America. That's what we live in, the DSA. We do not live in the USA. If you live in America. If you live in the UK or some other great country, I envy you, by the way. But another act of human aggression that I want to add, which is also very valuable, is empathy. Human beings do not have empathy for other people, especially if it's people that are not part of the group that they are a part of. There is no empathy. We just do not care about other people. We will play nice, but we really do not care. And those are very clear words that you will see with people making comments on YouTube comments and different articles, because once again, their identity is basically not revealed. They're speaking unfiltered, speaking how they really feel. That they don't care about particular people based on their race, based on their sex, their economic class, their religion, their sexual preference, their body size. We do not care. We have no empathy. It's all about us being self-centered. Number two, another thing that I understand and I really believe in, and I'm being serious here for a second, I think every single person on this planet, all 7 billion of us, that you are entitled, you have the right to your personal opinions, preferences, and your belief. And you can express all of that within your private domain. That means in your head or within your house, because your house is an extension of you, really. So if you do not like women for whatever reason, then yeah, you can post that on the walls in your house. That's your house. That's perfectly fine. And you can have conversations about women belong in the kitchen and they're not equal to us and blah, blah, blah. And you can have that with other people that may share the same kind of ideologies. That's fine. That's perfectly okay because that's within your private domain. That's why when Donald Sterling was when he and his girlfriend or mistress or something were having a conversation and Donald Sterling had particular comments about black people, that didn't bother me. He was having a private conversation in his home. He's entitled to that. I can't change people. I can't change you to think a certain way. Only you can do that. So, and at the same time, you can hate something, but it's not going to change the world automatically because you don't like it. So you can hate women or black people or Muslims, or you can do whatever you want. It's not going to change. That means it's like you're hating something that's not going to have some kind of a outcome that's going to favor in your position. It's not. Actually, it's kind of sad that you're dwelling your hate on something that won't change. So you can hate black people. There will always be black people. That's not going to change. So just move in a different direction that's more positive. And I know that. And I also understand that you can have your opinions because you don't speak for the world. The world wasn't made just for you. It wasn't. And the more I see that, I don't really care what people want to think or what they want to say. You can think it, you can whatever you want to do it, but then fine, express it within the realms of your private boundaries. That is your home, that is in your head. Okay, and that leads to point number 3. So I talked about the private boundaries, which is your opinions. But what about the public boundary? That is where we have to coexist together. Because the planet was not made for a particular person or group of any kind. You have to learn how to coexist. And that is something that I really feel is important. And that's where we often struggle. Everything that you see in the news or disagreements is because there's one group and there's another group. And of course, they're not in the same group, so they're clashing because they do not share the same type of ideology or thinking. Okay? So that's what I really believe. So what does this mean? How do we coexist together? One, I believe in things that are being fair and equal. Everyone is equal. No one is better than another person. But I also believe in fairness. So for example, I believe that if you want a good working job, well, okay, that sounds good. You need to get the education. You need to get the skills to do that. And that means, well, okay, going to college, making sacrifices of not going to parties and being lazy, reading sports magazines or the intelligent YouTube channels that's out there, PewDiePie as an example. No, if that's what you want to do, that's great because that's your personal opinion, that's your preference that you want to do. I'm okay with that. But if you're educated and you got the skills, then you'll get very good opportunities that pay very, very well. So don't say, oh, that's not fair. I want to be where he or she is. They're making $100,000 a year. That's not fair. No, that is fair. It's fair because that opportunity can also be presented for you, but you have to put in the work. Okay? Life is not going to say, oh, hey, here's this job, assuming this job is a pin. Here, have this job because you deserve it. Remember, active human aggression. We're entitled. We're self-centered. I should get this good job because I'm me. No, you got to work for it. Simple as that. That's called being fair. That if you put in the work, then good things will come for you. That's why that's what I did. I busted my ass really, really hard. And now I run my own business. I am very self-efficient. I had many jobs where I got more than 120,000 per year. I worked hard. I did sacrifices. So, and a lot of people may make these comments to me like, man, you're so lucky. No, I'm not lucky because I worked hard for it. It's not my fault if you made different choices in your life. I made different choices, but I'm kind of jumping ahead because that's another point of how I understand about the world around me. But that's what I believe in terms of coexisting. Everyone is equal and there's a balance of fairness. Okay. What's also important in terms of coexisting is common sense courtesy. That's something I talk about a lot on the MT Doctrine. So check out those videos, by the way. But common sense courtesy, that's the biggest one. And the main highlights for that is being nice and doing the right thing. So when we have to work together. We have to live together because we have to share this planet. It wasn't made for just you or some other particular person. It wasn't made for me. I wish it did, but that's not the world I live in. So you got to be nice. Be nice to people. Do the right thing. And that's sometimes very, very challenging. So that's what I really believe about how we should coexist. Equality, fairness, use common sense, use common courtesy, think of other people, be nice, do the right thing. Another point is, this is probably the main one, I think. So when I look at a video or read an article about something that is going on in the world, the question is, how do I react to it? And typically I do not react to it. And how I do that is I look at the issue and I ask myself, how does that impact me directly? Or the things that I care about, or the people that I care about? If it has no impact to me, I really do not care. I don't. And that's why, like, for example, like people get so mad about gay marriage. Gay people, they shouldn't marry. That, should be between a man and a woman. That has no impact to you. You're not forced to marry someone that you don't want to marry. That's someone else's life choice. But they're going to go to hell. Okay, fine, then they will go to hell. That has no impact to you. So why are you bitching about it? Oh, that's right, because you think the world revolves around you. So your belief system, your preferences, your opinions, you think that they're public. You think that they're global. You don't speak for the world. Okay, that your belief, that is only your personal opinion. Okay, which is basically just significant to you, and that's it. But that's how I see it. That's why I'm not bothered by the gay community or gay people. Hey, go for it. That's your life. That's your lifestyle. That's your choice. I'm okay with that. That has no impact to me. It's not impacting me, my job, my family, my friends. So why do I get angry about something that has no impact to me? But there is some indirect impacts, like things that don't have a direct impact to me directly, but could have an impact. These are things like Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook is a prime example where somebody who wasn't mentally stable walked into a school with the intent of killing every single person in that school. And he killed a lot of kids and faculty members. Okay, that has an indirect impact to me because the kids that were killed that day, I have a son that was that age. It made it, and this is a place, and this was basically a very small town. I live in a very small town. So it made it very clear that that could happen in our school. Okay. So that's when I said, okay, there's an indirect impact. So I have an opinion about this. And that basically was having stronger security, having stronger gun control policies, using common sense courtesy laws. Common sense. I mean, come on, right? When you have people going into schools killing people, especially little children, you have to raise an eyebrow that that's a problem. Okay? I'm not saying banning guns, because remember what I said about point number 1. The world contains evil. People are aggressive. They're very aggressive animals. You got to protect them. People don't care about you. They have no empathy. So the idea of guns and protecting yourself, I agree with that. But you have to also understand there has to be some kind of gun control. The point is, I have opinions about that because there is an indirect component at play. But that's really how I look at particular things. Now, a lot of people can say, well, so that means that you're probably have an indirect impact based on what's going on with Michael Brown and the 12-year-old kid that was killed with the toy gun and things like that. In some ways, yes, there is an indirect impact to that. But that's more because of the police and how they are in this particular country, though. But there's no direct impact because no police, that hasn't happened to me before. But it has the potential of that happening at some capacity. So once again, the point is when I look at an article or read something, I look at how does this impact me? And most times it doesn't impact me. So I'm pretty neutral and I just kind of communicate and give my opinions for what really, really matters. So that's what it is. Is there a direct impact onto me, the things I care about, the people that I care about, and so forth? And the last point is, and it's something that I talked about before, and that is every person, every second, kind of, makes a personal choice on what they're going to do all the time. What you're going to eat for dinner, when you're going to pick up your kids from school, to bigger things about who you want to marry and what school you want to go to and what kind of job you want to pursue, and so forth. All of us, we make personal choices all the time. Okay, and they're personal choices. So that means that those are choices that are significant and important to you. Now, keep in mind that every choice that we make, there is some risk with that particular decision. Some are very minimal risk, like if you decide, okay, for dinner, I want to eat either a hamburger or a cheeseburger. Okay, that's very minimal risk. And you're thinking, well, what are those risks? Well, it's unhealthy food. You eat more of that, you can have health problems, heart attack, whatever, you could die. Those are risks, okay? So again, so you have some type of risk in every decision that you do. And sometimes those risks, it actually happens or it doesn't happen. That's the nature of a choice or a decision that you make. But when something happens, that could lead to a particular consequence. And I talked about this specifically with the celebrity nude picture exploits or leaks by Jennifer Lawrence and other celebrities that were very angry about it and suing Google. Jennifer Lawrence was very upset about it. And so for me, I said, okay, for one, this doesn't impact me. So I didn't really care. I didn't have a strong opinion about it because there's no impact to me or my life. Now I have opinions about it, which is based on my personal belief system. And that basically means, well, I don't do things like that because I think that that is a very childish thing to do. It's juvenile. It's not mature. It's not intelligent. So that's my opinion. Okay. So, but again, Jennifer Lawrence made a choice. She said, you know what? I want to take nude pictures for my boyfriend or whatever her reasons are. It's her personal choice. And I'm going to question that. Okay? But there's risk involved. And she should have went through those particular risks and say, okay. Well, there's potential that the pictures could be sent by accident to somebody. I could lose my phone. It could be hacked. It could be whatever reason of those pictures being exposed. There's a risk with that. It may not happen. It's like insurance. Well, in this case, it happened. The pictures were leaked or basically hacked, and now everyone sees it. So now that is the consequences of the choice that she made. So yes, be mad. You're a human being because that impacts you. I got that, right? But be also mad at yourself because that was your choice that you made. So that's why when I see people and when they get upset about certain things, I'm like, well, you made that choice. No one put a gun to your head. If they did, of course, that's different circumstances, of course. But that's not really the case. So that's what I believe in. Everyone has personal choices that they make. But you have to assess the risk and understand the potential consequences of the choices and the decisions that you make. Okay, so where does all of this come into play? So let's circle back around and bring up the conversation of the nosy maid. Okay, so number one, I get it. We're all aggressive animals. So yeah, she's probably doing some kind of an aggressive act. It's hard for me to pinpoint what that is. My first impression is there's some sense of entitlement that she's doing this because she can. She's curious. Okay, I get that. Okay, fine. And you can say other acts as well. Maybe she's also oblivious that she's not thinking of others. Like looking through someone else's stuff, they may not like it. She also didn't care because she was doing that. So you can make that argument as well. I understand that. So the other point that I talked about as well was everyone is entitled to their opinions, their preferences, and that sort of thing. So yeah, she probably thinks that that's okay. That's what she believes in. But I mentioned that's important if it's in your private boundary. She's at a workplace. That's part of a public domain. So she really kind of crossed the line there in my opinion. So in terms of this coexisting, the private domain was important. Is it fair? Is it equal? Well, this is not really relevant. Is it nice? Is it the right thing to do? Common sense courtesy? Yes. She lacked common courtesy because she was not thinking of other people. Okay, that's one of the acts of human aggression, oblivious. And yeah, she did not do the right thing. Okay, that stuff doesn't belong to you, so you shouldn't be touching things that don't belong to you. It's called being a good person, doing the right thing. And the other component is there a direct impact to me when I saw that? Well, of course not, because it didn't happen to me directly. But there is a indirect component to it, because if I had stuff there, that could have happened to me as well. And I would not like it. Okay? Because again, one of my personal beliefs, my opinions is I believe in people doing common sense courtesy. I believe in people being nice. I believe in people doing the right thing. In this case, she did not. So there's a indirect impact, because if I go to a hotel and if I have my electronics out, she could be going through that as well. I don't really like that. And when it comes to the choices, well, yeah, that's the choice that she made. Her personal choice was, I'm curious. Let me check out all this cool stuff. not knowing that the risk could be someone could find out. And in this case, they did. It was a video recording that somebody did. And it could have resulted in her losing her job. Maybe she did. I don't know. I didn't follow up on this particular report. But once again, those are the 5 points of how I analyze this particular story of the nosy maid. Okay, so let's look at this now from a neutral perspective. Okay, what really matters? So after reading this article and watching the video, number one, if you're going to a hotel room and you're bringing all your toys and your gadgets, put them up, lock them up. I'm thinking, why did he just lay his stuff all over the room for? That's not really smart. Why would you do that? Put your stuff up, lock them up. And that's what I always do. Whenever I go to a hotel for vacation, for work, whatever it is, I never leave my personal belongings of interest. My clothes, I don't care about that, right? But like laptops, tablets, iPhones, game systems, I never leave that visible. I always lock it up. More importantly, I usually take it with me because this is something about me that I want to share. And for me personally, I have a hard time trusting people. I just don't trust people. So I always take things with me because I do not know the intentions of people. Because as I mentioned from the 5 points, I live in a world that contains evil. People, human beings are aggressive. We do aggressive acts. We're selfish. We are judgmental. We are oblivious. We have no empathy. So, and I see that and I know that's out there. So it's hard for me to trust people because a lot of people are like that. So I always take things with me or I lock things up. That's what I always do. The other thing that I realized is that this maid, so she's looking through all this stuff. She's curious. And she's curious because that is the closest thing that she will ever get to those type of devices. Just my opinion. I mean, because that guy had he had a laptop. I think there was a tablet of some sort. I think he had a game system because there was different games, PlayStation. I'm not sure what it was. And if that woman is working as, she's cleaning up rooms, that means she's probably working at minimum wage. So she probably doesn't make a lot of money. She's part of the working class. Okay, she's probably part of the lower economic class. So her having the ability of buying laptops and tablets and game systems, no chance in hell, unless someone is buying it for her or her family. So she's probably in this room and it's out there and she's like, oh, wow, this is what these game systems look like. Oh, a laptop, cool. I can actually touch it for once. Oh, tablet, it's just cool. She's curious because she will never get that in her life. Probably. I don't know. Maybe she does have that, but I'm thinking she does not. Okay. Because I remember I was on vacation once and somebody had Google glasses and some person was they were like, wow. They were like very inquisitive and asked them questions. I didn't care. Okay. Because that's something that is not, I can get Google glasses. It's not out of the realms of possibility. I can get that. That doesn't fade me because I'm in the upper middle class, so I can afford that. But people who cannot afford that, they get really interested and curious. Okay? So that's what I interpreted for this particular case. Like if I was in a rich person's house, okay, the 1% group, and I seen their like a Bentley, I'd probably be curious. I'd be looking in the Bentley like, oh, wow, look at the Bentley. Look at this nice pool table or whatever rich people have. I don't know. Because I'm looking at this thinking I would never get to this particular status. So let me look at this wonderful thing that I've never seen before. You'd be curious. And I think that's probably what happened in this case. So I give it a little bit of credit for her. It's like, okay, that's fine. She's being nosy. That's fine. She didn't take anything. And if anything, he also blames, he's also part of the responsibility because he made a choice of leaving his stuff behind. She could have took it. That also could have happened, and that could have been a very big risk and consequence for him to learn. So yes, she's being nosy. She shouldn't do it, but he shouldn't have done that in the first place. Put your stuff up. Okay?